Well, hello once again, everybody, and welcome back to the Wrestling Roadshow podcast. And we've got a bit of a special edition. They're all special editions today. They're all special editions. Yeah, special edition today. Let's start that again.
A special edition.
We're on special. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Wrestling Roadshow podcast. A special edition today. They're all special. But we'll be taking a look at AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view, which happened weekend just past. Now, we've had a little bit of feedback that you want us to look at some new stuff, and begrudgingly we'll do that. But that's not necessarily why this one's special. This is the debut of the three-man booth.
Whoa.
So, as usual, you've got me, Mr. Chris Man, as they say. We've got our Greg the Hammer over there.
Coughing profusely, yes?
Yes. Hammering that up on the cough. And we have from the upcoming Game Surgeons podcast, probably the biggest AEW fan I know, Shane.
Hello. No, thank you. Thank you for having me on here. I know that Greg and I are going to get into a vicious war over this. I'm going to besmirch his god, Jim Cornette, and he'll come at me.
So I've been thinking about how this works, and I mean, we got a three-man booth. Sometimes they work, most of the time they don't. I'm hoping this is one of the times they do. But the arrangement we've sort of got here, I mean, I'll be Sans Mask Excalibur steering the ship. We've got our good old Greg Ross here with the more old school type opinion, and then of course old Tony Shane Vonnie, who is just going to be happy to be here, and everything's the best shit he's ever seen.
He doesn't have a diamond earring, does he?
Sparkle.
So, what is your relationship with the champion? Okay, so the old roadshow heads to the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, November 13, which was, what was that, Saturday?
Something like that, yeah.
Sunday in our down under time zone. It is currently Wednesday night as we're recording, and you know what that means? In Australia, that means Dynamite's on tomorrow, so we haven't actually got the fallout from this event yet. By the time you're listening to it, that would have happened, and half the stuff we've said has probably been disproven, wrong, whatever. Just pretend Dynamite didn't happen. Kind of like NXT was for about a year and a half before they realized it was and pulled the pin. Okay, so Target Center. This is a venue with a little bit of wrestling history. Minneapolis, of course, a town with quite a bit more. This venue held the Eddie Guerrero tribute episodes of Raw and SmackDown, something that's not really a surprise given some of the things on the show. November 13 was actually the anniversary of when he died in a Minneapolis hotel. This venue has had a few pay-per-views over the years, SummerSlam 99 probably being the most notable. It actually held the Jesse Ventura Governor inauguration ceremony, and quite fittingly to this show, a Junior Dos Santos fight in 2019. So we kick off with the pre-show. And Greg, you did not watch the pre-show. Would I be correct in that assumption?
No, I did not.
Okay, so the pre-show match, Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa versus Jamie Hayter and Nyla Rose. So, we watched this on YouTube, which unfortunately at the conclusion I was greeted with the nice spoiler for the main event.
Oh, no.
To contextualize this, we were watching it like after the fact. So the main show had finished, and then that's when we started to watch the pre-show, and then we're going to watch the main show. We all did it on a bit of a delay. So yeah, YouTube was very quick to give us those spoilers.
So I thought an opinion that's probably not news to anyone who pays attention to some of the things I say on this podcast, but Google, God, like, yeah, my opinion on big tech companies was not helped by this this little spoiler. But yeah, what do you think of the match, Shane?
Oh, like I can't remember a ton about it, to be honest. Like it was a tag pre-show match. It's serviceable. It was there. It was inoffensive. Yeah, it was good. It's literally just like a good way to warm up the show. So yeah, I guess it did its job.
Yep. Yeah. Women's wrestling pre-show match. Yeah. I thought it was decent. The stories coming in were good. I mean, I think we got a similar match on Rampage or Dynamite, or it's hard to keep up. But yeah, I liked it. 12:23. Sheeta and Rosa go over.
Okay, I legit couldn't even remember who won. But yeah, no, it was like, considering its role was to kind of preview some of the upcoming women's tournament matches and also just, give us something to open the show with. I thought it, did its role very well.
Yeah, we also had some other stuff in the pre-show that I probably should have noted because I don't even remember it.
Yeah, I can remember this one. This was they were doing a in-ring interview with Dante Martin.
That's right.
Because Team Taz are trying to recruit him, and then the Acclaimed came out and tried to recruit him and just got beat up. It was pretty much just a way to get Dante Martin out there because it's his hometown. Give him something to do. Yo, listen.
Is he the guy that raps? I'm
Yeah.
going to assume. Okay.
Yeah, the Acclaimed Max Caster is the rapping one.
Oh, okay. He was the guy that got into a bit of hot water recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Yeah.
And Jim Cornette, I don't know why he got cancelled. Well, not cancelled, but yeah.
Well, Corny's been known to do a few things.
So on to the main show, what we're all here for. We open with MJF representing the Pinnacle against Darby Allin.
Did you notice when they first started this pay-per-view with the commentators that they kind of garbled a few things? Like, I don't know if it was just me, but when I was watching it, they were kind of stumbling over their words a little bit. And like MJF says something to Justin Roberts, the ring announcer, about he could beat him with a side headlock takeover.
Yes.
And Roberts kind of messed that up a little bit as well. Like it was kind of a bit of a nervous start, I thought, but yeah.
Kind of like this show.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, MJF had been saying that in promos prior that he was going to win with the headlock takeover or takedown. I can't remember the phrasing he used, but yeah, he was running that angle beforehand.
Yeah, I quite like the story going into this one because these two are identified as two of the pillars of the future of AEW. So it's cool to see them finally clash, and personality-wise, they're such opposites to each other. With MJF being the silver spoon, smarmy boy, and Darby being the cool emo kid. It was just they just had a lot to bounce off each other.
Yeah,
so I was just going to say, it's funny Shane making that comment about the pillars. I don't know if I heard this wrong, but did JR say pillows?
Possibly.
I'm pretty sure he says pillows.
It was past his bedtime. He was tired.
He was a little bit off at the start. And yeah, it got better as time went on. But yeah, I actually put this down in my notes. One of the four pillows of the company, question mark.
Maybe it was
a bit muddled.
Maybe he was commentating Sting's backstage nap that he took after making sure Darby made it to school okay.
yeah, that was good. Yeah. Carry on.
So the story prior was pretty much MJF being the typical smarmy dickhead, trying to break down Darby mentally. There was quite a few good promos in the lead up, but old Darb's a little bit mentally tougher than MJF gave him credit for. So it didn't really work as such, although it did give us an absolute question mark of a video for Darby prior.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Oh,
what do you think of that?
There is no answer. Like, Darby does what Darby does.
And I think that's what makes it work for him. Like, I am a Darby Allin fan. And
that surprises me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked that.
Well, I don't know. I just think he's very unique. And like particularly with just some of the moves that he does, like he really throws himself into it. Like this will be a
Does he ever?
recurring theme as we go through, with me mostly being on the negative, I think, is like when he does a suicide dive, and it's just so different to everyone else's. Like everyone just got a very pretty looking, flip out of the ring, and he just launches himself. I find him really unique, and these videos, question mark, but I think it kind of meshes with his character.
It's basically Darby's film school homework for the week. It's like, this is what I did. But one of the surprising things about Darby Allin, which probably not that big a surprise the more you watch him, it surprises me every time I see it. And I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really care for Darby, but so I pay less attention to him than probably the average AEW viewer. But he's quite a good technical wrestler.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. And same with MJF, to be honest. I think both guys are known for other aspects of their kit. But when it comes down to it, both of them can definitely go toe-to-toe with some of the better technical guys out there at the moment.
Yeah, this is the future, the technical wrestling.
Yeah, this is about as technical as it gets.
Yeah, it's good because it's not so much the primary focus. So while it probably appeals to, I guess, some of the more pure wrestling fans, it also has that lovely coat of paint of MJF's promos and Darby's reckless style and just general weirdness.
Yeah, it's definitely a contrasting style with the personalities. I think Shane did allude to that earlier with the, like with MJF, there's, silver spoon in his mouth kind of thing. And Darby, has obviously had a few troubles in his life. I think they mentioned at some point about that video that he did where it was like some guy in an MJF mask and they total the car and he blows it up and whatever. It was supposed to be some sort of reference to his uncle that was killed in a car accident or something. Like, did you guys catch that, or did I just imagine that?
Yeah, it could be. Because like in the real world, Darby was driving with his uncle, and his uncle was drink driving, and there was a crash, and the uncle died from the crash, and Darby credits that as a time when he lost a lot of faith in humanity, and that's why he wears the half face paint type of deal. So it could have been like a reference to that. If it wasn't like super explicit, but Darby videos are just.
You reckon that wasn't explicit?
I don't know. I don't like. When I was watching it, I didn't draw the parallels to the uncle. I viewed it as more of a thing towards MJF being like, hey,
just to mess with him.
Yeah, this is going to be a car crash, and I'm going to be the one that's going to walk out of it, not you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Well, MJF, being the fantastic heel that he was, brought up that incident during one of the promos on Dynamite, Rampage, one of the TVs, and then of course said, "Oh, it should have been you that died instead."
Wow.
And let me tell you, if Max Caster made the same comment, everyone would be bringing out the pitchforks. But if MJF can say whatever he wants, then they're like, he's just a good heel.
People got offended at what I said last week, and I've been told to apologize. No. Yep. MJF.
And I love the stuff that Max Caster does. I love the stuff that MJF does. I'm a big believer in, rocking the boat. But yeah, the double standards that people have is ridiculous. That they ream everyone for saying something a bit too spicy, but MJF is just good heel work.
I think it's kind of like the guy that always gets drunk and makes an absolute dick of himself at the party. Yeah. And everyone just goes, "Oh, that's just how he is,"
that's just Jonathan. That's what he does.
Yeah, but if anyone else were to do it, it's like, oh my god, what a disgusting pig.
Yeah, We expect as much from young Maxwell.
Yes, we do.
So as young Maxwell mentioned in the lead up, as old Justin Roberts mentioned, MJF was going to win with the side headlock takedown, and he did. How about that?
So good.
Wow.
I was stoked that they went with that for the finish. That was so smart.
He's
So,
got a
I
pretty
think-
good, he's got a pretty good headlock takedown.
He does.
To be fair,
I think between us, we'd probably have a combined 60, 70 years of watching wrestling. I haven't. Have either of you two seen a match end that way?
No, not in the last 50 years, maybe.
But
I can
that-
see it maybe like cranked up like like an MMA. I'm trying to think. I think it was called a can opener or something like that, where they like pull up on the neck. Oh, well, that's obviously a legitimate hold in MMA, but yeah, the way he was cranking, I actually thought that could work.
actually,
That works
great.
for me.
Greg, come to think of it, how did George Temple and Roy Aslan end in 51?
Gee, I can't remember. I don't know. It wasn't a very memorable match, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, I have to go back and watch some of that old footage.
I don't undersell our bonus episode.
Yeah, that'll be coming up later, folks.
So,
Temple.
so some of our listeners may not have actually watched the show. I know there's going to be at least one or two. So I should probably point out at this point, MJF did smack Darby with a ring behind the referee, like shielded from the referee, just prior to the headlock takedown. So he did win with the takedown, but with a little bit of help.
Yeah. I thought it was really cool, like where MJF just decides, you know what, screw this. I'm willing to take the hit. He goes and gets Darby's skateboard and kneels down and tells Darby, hit him. Which of course Darby's very tempted to do, but then he realizes, no, if I hit him, I lose. So I thought it was a really nice setup to that, like a really heelish thing to do.
Yeah, I thought that was good because, again, that ties in with the story with Maxwell saying he wanted to mentally break Darby. And I guess that was kind of giving him that opportunity again, saying like, we've been fighting for a good 20 minutes now. Like you can end it all here. But again, Darby said no, but then that was his undoing.
I know at one point MJF started really selling the knee. I think it was like a big backbreaker or something.
That was a good looking backbreaker.
Oh,
Yeah.
the powerbomb backbreaker. Yeah,
that could have been. Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. And MJF started selling the knee, which kind of added a little bit extra to the match. Because at first I thought, typical, heel kind of move. He's got to pretend his knee's hurt and then like roll him up or something and go ha ha. But he sold it all the way through, and especially like when Darby come off with the coffin drop and MJF got the knees up. And he just sold it like he broke his legs. I really like MJF as well. Those two guys I'm pretty keen on.
Yeah, that and the tombstone on the apron as well. That was another one with the selling.
Yeah. Which is, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's
We'll
a bit excessive.
Move right along here because it's something I'm going to whinge about later on.
I think from a pure in-ring standpoint, I think this was my favorite match from the show, just like for the pure wrestling. But again, there's a lot of things where it's like, should they be doing this in the opening match? And yeah, I think this is going to be a bit of a recurring issue of every match trying to do a little bit too much.
Like earlier on, like Darby actually tries to do a coffin drop onto the apron. And,
Yeah.
and MJF moved out of the way. I'm thinking, wow, okay.
Yeah, those apron coffin drops.
Oh, why is he? He's an idiot, man. He eats shit on them all the time. Like you can't be the pillar for the future if your career's going to last another year before you're in a wheelchair.
Okay, Darby will be lucky to be wrestling at 30, and I'm pretty sure he's like 29 now.
Yeah, he's got a good 12 months left in him.
Yeah, so I actually agree with you there, Shane. That would be my in-ring match of the night.
Yeah, just really good. Just lots of nods to the story that they were already telling. It was put together pretty intelligently. The character work was really good, and yeah, like you got to see MJF and Darby do technical wrestling, which you really don't get to see all that often.
Or MJF wrestling at all. You
Or
don't see that
MJF.
often.
MJF wrestling at all because he's definitely a mic guy. I think that this is going to be one of those matches that will be interesting to look back at historically in like 5 years because there probably will be main events where it is MJF and Darby Allin fighting for the world title. So to look back at this and be like, oh yeah, they opened a show. Like, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting match historically.
That's exactly what Excalibur said on the preview unrestricted podcast with Tony Khan.
Ah, there you go.
But, yeah, so moving on, we have the AEW World Tag Titles on the line. There's the Lucha Brothers of Penta El Zero Meadow and Ray, I'm not going to roll that R, Phoenix. Defend against FTR, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Harwood representing the Pinnacle. And I'm just gonna lead with this. How good is FTR's music?
Oh yes,
I've even written that down in my notes because that was the first time I've heard the theme. Yeah,
it's as blatant a Midnight Express ripoff as you can get, but I don't care. It's so good.
But you know they got permission, so like you get the fact that they're not taking the piss or anything.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Like it's like, oh, is that Mikey Ruckus or Giorgio Moroder? So just a side note there, you can check out my article on the Midnight Express theme on the WrestlingRoadshow.com.
There you go.
So, gotta get it in. Gotta give the people what I want. So, depending on the tastes, I reckon Greg and I are going to have this opinion. Shane, I reckon you'll disagree. I think this was better than the FTR Bucks match at the not FTR, dickhead. Lucha Brothers and Bucks match at the last pay-per-view.
Oh, it's like apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Like I find those two really hard to compare. I love FTR. I've been harping on about how good they are since they were the Revival in NXT. I think that they are. So I think you're gonna love this, Greg. I think that the Young Bucks are the greatest tag team of all time. You're digest that one, Greg.
Yeah, I'm digesting it.
Yeah. So between their absolute like huge catalog of just classic matches, I think that they're just like top level. However, FTR are the other side of the coin because they're so different to the Bucks, but they're just so excellent. Like anything that they touch is just golden.
Yeah, I'm not really going to agree with Bucks being best tag team in the world, but yeah.
No,
I think
not in the world of all time.
Yeah,
of anyone that has ever
I'm not
come
saying they're the
along.
best now. I'm saying they're the best ever.
see, I thought you said all time, but I didn't want to overlay.
No, we're going big. We're going big.
Yeah, I mean, just on the point about the Lucha Brothers Bucks cage. I mean, you kind of expect it though. Like you say, okay, they're going to have a steel cage match, and you know what you're getting with those two teams.
Yeah.
So you knew going in, like they're just going to do a shit ton of stuff. I didn't agree that it was the greatest cage match ever or the greatest tag match or ever, but I knew going in that what I was going to get. So, yeah, I mean, I can compromise there.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I wouldn't be able to tell you what the answer is, but I don't think it's like the greatest cage match ever. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good for what it was. But yeah, to hear the hyperbole around it, I was actually quite surprised.
Yeah. So back to this match.
Back to this one.
So FTR come out with belts. They were the AAA tag champions. So they won those belts from Penta and Phoenix. under masks as the mystery team of Los Superanos. And a nice conquistador type gimmick that angle would have been done several times over the years.
It reminded me of when Ricky Steamboat and I think it was Steamboat and Douglas, I want to say, when they put masks on and they were feuding with the Hollywood Blondes. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's what it reminded me of.
No, that's new information to me.
I'm trying to think of the name they used, but yeah, there was like a time in the feud where like they pretended to be like a lucha team, and yeah. I
can see Steamboat doing the style, but Douglas, I guess at that point.
I think Douglas was a replacement for someone else. I really should have researched this a little more before I brought it up.
Come on, get your act together.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so champion versus champion match here. I mean, if you didn't know, you'd think the belts were the wrong way around. FTR being AAA tag champs. Like, really? But this angle I don't think's been particularly spectacular, but it's just great to see FTR on TV.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I like the one Mexican knee pad that each of them wore, along with the American knee pad.
Oh, they're international superstars.
Exactly, right?
I'm just hanging out for their eventual trip to Japan.
Yeah, well, where are they going to put that one?
I don't know, the tights.
No, okay, fair enough.
The boots.
Yeah, okay, that works.
I don't know, what do you think I am, their fashion consultant?
Well, I don't know. You take a lot of notes. You should know this stuff.
I suppose, yeah, I am the bloke who had a full page of notes on Pastamania for the Nitro episode.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
And you can check that out at our archives.
Oh, dude, on the new YouTube channel too.
Yeah, we got that. That we'll give a bit of a plug later on. Hasn't really been. Okay, so yeah, your thoughts on this match, guys?
I liked it. I noticed later. I read later that one of the FTR guys got injured in the match. I think it was Dax.
Yeah, I heard that as well. That he got around the 10-minute mark, he got knocked out. And the match ended up going for 18 minutes. So, yeah, he would have gone another 8 minutes after getting knocked out, trying to figure out what's going on.
Just like the good old days.
Just like the good old days. Just catch yourself up and get back out there.
No HIA concussion time here.
I kind of landed on a similar thing. I think I had my expectations like extremely high for this match. And it didn't quite hit what I was hoping for. And it could be because of Dax's knock on the head. I found the finish really odd and kind of a bit shaky. But later learning that, Dax wasn't doing too great kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I felt the same way about the finish. Like, it was very flat.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, when I found out later that, Dax had sort of been knocked out or almost knocked out, so I thought, okay, well, maybe that's why that was the case.
There may be a little bit of a silver lining here. So we've had not a lot, but a couple of Dax singles matches. We haven't seen Cash. We might get some Cash singles matches while Dax is getting better.
I'd love to see that. I just want to see what he's got. Like Dax has really surprised me with how good his singles stuff is. So, I want to see what Cash can do because, as a team, I think they're just phenomenal, just so intelligent.
Yeah. And of course, all the throwback stuff is sort of that thing that rewards you the deeper you are into it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd like to see these guys run it back again in the future when, all four are feeling healthy. Because I think that they've got potential to just absolutely blaze it, man. I think that they have potential to do amazing. But tonight wasn't the night for it. But what we ended up with was still quite good.
And of course, Lucha Brothers taking that match and the titles.
Yeah.
They're still early on in their reign. this is their, I think there was only like their second defense or something.
Yeah, this would only be their like they won it at the last pay-per-view, so it would only be what 3 months or so.
Yeah, I think they defended against Butcher and Blade for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but
They were the #1 contenders, weren't they?
well, they were, but it's just like sure.
Racking up those wins on Dark.
Yeah, they must have done a few house show wins.
Yeah, speaking of #1 contenders, we then move on to the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament Final. That's a lot of words. Thanks, Tony.
Sorry. I was just going to say, just on that tag match, nice tribute to Eddie.
One of the many, yeah.
Yeah, which kind of got a little bit overboard, but seeing it for the first time, that was cool.
Yeah, that was the suplexes.
Yes, yeah, and then Phoenix does a frog splash after Penta had done this
That's right.
Three Amigos deal. Yeah, I mean it was a nice tribute, but then it kind of became a bit of a theme through the night.
And I said it at the time, and I'll say it again. No one does a better frog splash than Art Bar.
His was amazing.
His was like a frog in a blender, I found.
Yeah.
It wasn't very graceful. It was just all over the shop, but it worked.
It looked so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to the next match, the World Title Eliminator Tournament Final. So a match that you wouldn't have picked when the tournament was announced.
Definitely not.
Bryan Danielson and Miro. Now, when the tournament was announced, you probably have a safe bet on Danielson and John Moxley. Then we had Moxley and Orange Cassidy scheduled for Dynamite. Mox checked himself into a rehab clinic, and Miro didn't really have too many other plans that night. So poor Orange got to suffer the wrath of Miro. And
I loved that finish where he had like the camel clutch, but then he like wrenched right back on it and turned him into a pretzel. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken the I think it was the Accolade in WWE, and it's just, was he doing the bridge?
No, he wasn't. It was just the pure camel clutch.
Just the straight up Steiner recliner.
Yeah. So having that nice little twist onto it, I quite like it.
And yeah, it looks brutal. With I mean, he's built like a brick shit house.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Miro beats Orange, moves on to this match. I thought it was quite well done the way they put Miro in the tournament, because he realistically, aside from Hangman and the gimmick match, Miro was the #1 ranked guy at the time.
Yeah, so using the rankings as a reason why it's him getting slotted in, I thought it made like great sense.
And he'd only had one loss one singles loss in AEW, and that was him losing the belt, the TNT title to Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, I can't say I enjoyed Miro when he first turned up, but when they got away from the nonsense, I've really enjoyed his stuff.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, I think you'll find a lot of people with that same opinion. I think his current run, his current character is just like so good.
It's kind of like a misguided soul kind of thing. Like he does a lot of like religious, that element to it, like my God and and all that. And he's just like a guy that's kind of misinterpreted the information, whereas he's just kind of come very unhinged. Like, I don't know how that sits well with people that are religious, but I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like the most tasteful that wrestling's done religion, in that what he's doing, it's not really offensive, which pretty much it's better than 90% of things anyway.
It's a very low bar that we're
yeah. From the same business that gave you Oh yeah, he's teaming with God. Here's the
I was just
spotlight,
thinking that. I was just going to say that. Yeah.
as well as Austin 316.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's believable that he believes what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah, and he's so physically imposing already. So having someone be having that unhinged quirk to the character, just like I view him as such a final boss character. You just think like, how the hell do you overcome this dude?
I know that I noticed that on the previous AEW pay-per-view we watched as well. I guess at some point he injured his neck or something, because they bring it up quite often in this match that Miro's weakness is the neck.
Yeah,
So,
it's like his Achilles heel. Like I don't know if that is like a legitimate injury or if it's just like what they've run with. But yeah, I like that wrinkle as well because yeah, he seems so unstoppable. So you got to give him something.
yeah.
That really helped in the two matches he had with Fuego.
Yeah, who's known for doing a tornado DDT and not much else.
And making stupid gambling decisions.
Yeah, I'm gonna bet my car. Oh, I lost again.
And it gave extra depth to the Sammy match where
Yeah.
he did lose. So
Actually, on the betting, I would have put a lot of money on Miro winning this match, and I would have been a very poor man.
No, I think I pretty much had my money on Danielson for this one. I think it's a little early to be, having him lose anything. So this
would have been interesting if this was Moxley.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that this match is kind of similar to the last one in the way that I had obscenely high expectations, and it was a good match, and it made Miro look like an absolute monster. But yeah, I don't think it quite hit the final gear that I thought it was going to hit.
Didn't quite go full gear.
Not quite full gear.
Well, I'm going to say that I liked it! Exclamation.
Yeah, I liked it. Don't get me wrong, I quite liked it, but I thought it was going to be like ridiculously good.
Yeah. I mean, I like the dynamic. I mean, the obvious dynamic was that, Brian's a smaller guy and Miro's this, beast. And, we saw some really good European uppercuts from Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, as Tim Ross did call him.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Match. He was like, oh, by that I mean. But then, Miro, it's like one strike and knocks him down. So, it was a nice dynamic. They were each playing to their strengths.
Yeah, agreed, definitely. And I thought that the finish, while the actual move was a little sloppy, the idea was quite good, doing a DDT off the rope to a guillotine.
Yeah, they'd been running the thing with Danielson that I don't think he's won 2 matches with the same move out of the 8 or 9 that he's had. So he can win with anything.
I love that so much because, oh man, wrestling is so formulaic. Like once you start to learn each wrestler's signatures and finishes and stuff, you can kind of tell early on in the match where it's like, oh yeah, we're about a third through, we're about 2/3 through. Even like an amazing dude like Okada, if he hasn't done the drop kick yet, the match isn't going to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, someone will surprise you every so often with a headlock takedown, but
Once every 50 or so years.
Yeah.
But I love what Danielson's doing. How he'll beat you with different like roll ups or different submissions, or even with the knee, or just it keeps you on your toes and it makes wrestling more dynamic and more, dare I say it, realistic.
I think it made sense because when Brian at one point he does he gets him into a knee bar, and then Miro just after a time picks him up and gut wrenches him. And then, gets him into the label lock and, Miro powers out of that. So it needed something different to beat him. And I agree. The DDT was a little bit fudged, but...
Yeah, they didn't quite hit it clean, but, a DDT off the top it's not the easiest thing to pull off.
No, I wouldn't think so.
I do love the bit where we've got the guy who popularized the move using the name of somebody else, not the name that he popularized the move with. And then you've got another guy using the move in tribute, using the popular name, with Taiji Ishimori calling it the Yes Lock, whereas Brian's calling it the Label Lock.
Yeah. It's good to not have these crazy, weird names for moves. Just call it what it is.
Yeah, so decent little match there. I don't think too many people were disappointed, even though it didn't quite hit the high bars that many had. But yeah, it certainly wasn't a bad match.
No. And that's the thing, like nothing on here was a bad match. Like if I think that for me the flaw was like matches being a bit forgettable or a bit average. But that's that's a good thing to have on a show.
So from one 20-minute match to, by this point, yet another 20-minute match. We have a boy and his dinosaurs, Jungle Boy, Christian, and Luchasaurus, taking on the Super Clique, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, representing the Elite. A lot of groups and qualifiers in that. In a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Sorry, just before we get into this match, they do a thing where they go to the commentators. Tony looks completely out of it. It's like 3 matches in. They all look like they're puffed. And it looked like they were going to have like some sort of a break. And then they go, oh, no, right back to the ring. So I don't know what happened there. But yeah, the commentators are already starting to get a bit gassed.
Well, at this point, it had already run longer than an episode of WCW Saturday Night. Or the Prime.
The Prime, yeah. I really like the Jurassic Express music.
Yeah.
I really got into that. I don't know if it lends itself well to Jungle Boy, if they're going to like make him a bigger star. I don't know. There's just... I'm not sure, but I dig the tune. I think that was the first time I really listened to it.
Was that Tarzan Boy?
Yeah, it was pretty funky. I know that much.
Yeah.
Was that the one you put up on the website?
I'm
not being a silly.
That was the second post in the music series.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was the one. Okay,
yeah.
I have to go back and listen to that because I really like that tune.
One of the best things about that song is Taz singing along with it.
Yeah, I don't really get Taz. Like, 1 minute he's this big serious guy, and then the next he's just being a clown. Yeah.
And actually, we've got 2 entrants in the music series because did Adam Cole not too long ago.
That's right. So go and check the website if you want to listen to some Prime music.
Boom. So yeah, it's a trios match. Some people have issue with AEW using the word trios. It's Mexican. It's not American. We're in America. I think it's great because, as long-time listeners may be aware, I do watch a little bit of Joshi wrestling. And the old
Really?
six-person tags in there are reasonably common. So it's a 6-man, it's a 6-person, it's a 6-woman. It's all the bloody trios. It's so much easier. I'm a fan.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's a good point. My only thing is when Excalibur's got to name the different moves, like Tiger Driver 98 and Pesque Casido dive out of the ring.
Well, that's a quesadilla burrito.
Yeah, come on. Just call it the way it is. But I don't really give a shit about the trios thing.
Yeah, no, I do like Excalibur basically reading off a menu for calling the moves. That's what it is. It sounds more impressive. It's like, it's a roll-up. No, it's... the Guadalajara.
Guatemala roll. Yeah.
But yeah, this match, the build had been all right, but honestly, if Adam Cole isn't here, I find it very hard to give a shit. Cole and Jungle Boy have had great interactions. Christian and Cole haven't had enough interactions. I am so sick of the Bucks.
Ooh.
Yeah, like the whole elite thing. I mean, Kenny's almost passable. Cole's fine. The Bucks are idiots. Cutler and Nakazawa can just fuck right off. Like, I don't care for the elite.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got similar, outlook on that. But, I mean, for me, like the real story here was Cole and Jungle Boy. So I would have
Yeah.
been happy if this had been like a singles match. I don't know. I think it was just the obligatory let's try and get a bunch of people on the pay-per-view kind of match.
Oh no, that's coming up later.
Well, it happens a few times, I know.
Yeah.
They at least built to this.
Yeah, this one had build. Yeah, I think the Young Bucks are in like a weird position now where they had their long title reign and they're doing their thing, but they could probably benefit from just like disappearing for a while. But I don't foresee that happening, unfortunately.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah, like when I watch wrestling, like these days when I watch wrestling, I don't watch it in an analytical mind whatsoever. Like my preference is to watch it a couple of beers deep. So this is the perfect match for me, where I'm just like giggling the entire time.
I think I was a couple deep at this point.
I think you were at this point, but no, I thought this was great fun.
And yeah, I was negative on it, but it overachieved to my low standards. As I mentioned before we went on the air, I did watch this a second time, circumstantially, not intentionally. But yeah, I picked up some of the stuff for the second time round, and I didn't hate it at all. But I will repeat, Cutler and Nakazawa can fuck off.
I thought it was a funny call near the start of the match about Rick Knox, the referee.
Oh,
It just
so
says,
bad.
just stand back and declare a winner, and I thought that's pretty standard for Rick Knox and a Bucks. Just stand back and let them do whatever they want.
He is the worst referee I've seen in a major promotion.
He's
Oh,
a
without a
useless.
doubt. He's so
useless.
bad.
Yeah, look, I mean, there was a lot of spots and there were a lot of bumps, and yeah, and then they kind of went. I thought they went a little overboard with the tax, where they like put the tax in Jungle Boy's mouth.
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
right.
like even the crowd, I feel like even the crowd were kind of like, oh, geez, that's getting a bit too much show for us,
The knee pads were cool, though.
Yeah.
Except Luchasaurus should have been like extinct from that.
Oh, he had a mask on, which absorbed a lot of the impact. Like, it's authentic dinosaur leather.
Yeah, his horns got in the way. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the the overriding issue that I have with some of these pay-per-views is like they get hit with the kitchen sink and then still kick out. And there was a lot of instances of like kicking out of finishes. Just a lot of indie wrestling tropes that AEW do.
In this match, it wasn't so much kick-outs, it was saves.
Yeah. Which is different. Yeah, that's true. But stuff that probably should have wiped someone out. Yeah, then they're back in place for the next spot. So these sort of matches I don't really get into that much. But,
Yeah, the finish spot was there's a little bit of storytelling there. The one man concerto, which honestly didn't make a lot of sense when they had two guys there, but I think it was earlier in the match or possibly earlier in the story that Jungle Boy couldn't quite do it or didn't want to do it.
Match.
That was in this match, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets the guts to smack the marketing manager with a chair.
No, I quite like that.
I thought that was Brandy. I thought Brandy.
No, she's the brand officer.
Oh, Brandy. Oh,
The chief brandy officer.
oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Matt, who's an executive vice president, but I think he has a lot to do with the marketing side.
Oh, now we're getting into the behind the scenes.
Which is where the Bucks should be at this point in time because their actors are worn so thin. If they didn't have Adam Cole with them, the crowd wouldn't care. You notice the strategic positioning of Cole with them.
You and your conspiracies.
Before Cole turned up, crowd didn't give a shit about the Bucks once they turned.
Yeah, I agree with Shane. The point he made before, like the Bucks are in a really weird.
They're the best
spot.
in the world, the best of all time. Yeah.
But you'd think they'd overcome this, but yeah, it's kind of like similar to Kenny Omega, and well, I guess we'll talk about this later, but it would be good for Omega to have a break now that he's lost the belt. And
Spoilers! Fuck! What are you, YouTube?
What? Oh, sorry, everyone. Because yeah, I mean, he has a legitimate injury, and full credit to him. I'm not a big Omega fan, but full credit to him. Like, he went in with an injury, and it looks like he's going to be taking a break after that. And yeah, I do feel the same way about the Bucks after that. That long tag title reign. It's kind of like, yeah, it'd be nice if they just kind of, let us miss them. Maybe, and and then they can come back.
I believe Nick was working injured in this match, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he bruised his heel or something like that. Yeah, so he was a bit beat up. Nothing like too wild, but he was a bit sore.
Yeah, so that was, I guess, a trios match. Adam Cole talked up the Super Click teaming as just being a team that works really well on the Unrestricted podcast. Obviously, in this match, it's not quite the same because it's a lot more spots and match story rather than traditional wrestling. But they've been teaming for a long time. They're not bad. Then we move along. We have AEW crowd's favorite wrestler, Cody Rhodes, from the Nightmare family, teaming with Pac from Death Triangle to take on Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. Now, this match would be the standard semi-main on any episode of SmackDown over a long period. It's, these guys have got a beef. Throw them in a tag match, player. But here in AEW, they don't do this really at all. The throw together tag, or as Lucha Aficionado or Maskface on commentary called it, Piraeus de Increíbles match, which is a lucha term for this actually meaning something. Yeah, so the build up to this, it's been quite interesting because none of the relationships are really explicitly stated. Cody and Malachi have been back and forth at each other since Malachi turned up. They've had 3 matches now. Andrade and Pac have had a similar series, but the alliances on each team aren't really explored in detail. So I find it intriguing.
Yeah, at least they told that story during the match. Like, there was a lot of blind tags where, someone's about to do something and then the other guy tags themselves in and they look at him like, really? Which happened a lot with Cody and Pac. I thought the heels actually got their shit together a lot better than the baby faces. But yeah, there was that uneasiness on both sides.
And the crowd just hates Cody.
Oh, they do.
Really?
They do. Well, here, absolutely.
Like, he can't go anywhere now without getting booed.
Yeah, I feel like for a while it was city by city, but it's creeping more and more into just everyone hating Cody.
I think it's funny because I actually like him now more than I have in the past.
Yeah, likewise.
I noticed there was a call. I think it was Tony that said it was like shut out the noise. And in my notes I said, hard to do when the fan's completely shitting all over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was full on, and like it reminded me of that Halloween Havoc '89 match, the Freebirds and the Dynamic Dudes, where the Dynamic Dudes were the baby faces, the Freebirds were the heels, but every time the Dynamic Dudes did anything, they just And whenever the Freebirds did something, yay!
To be fair, though, like Johnny Ace.
Well, yeah. But yeah, and they kind of started to talk about it a little bit about like trying to explain why people are shitting on him so much. And they did bring up the point about the fact that, you know, he's going here, he's going there, he's sort of like in and out. Like wrestling fans are probably the most fickle fans you'll come across.
Oh yes.
And if they see someone trying to do something outside of wrestling, and not, they feel like they're not putting 100% into their show, yeah, they're going to shit on that. So it's kind of hard to figure out like what Cody can do, whether he's really going to like say, okay, I'm going to put my full commitment now into AEW, or am I going to try and make another reality show or something?
Well, I think now if he strays too far, Arn can just shoot him.
Yeah. But I mean, that was the thing. Like, wasn't that the thing that Arn kind of said? You know, you got to get your head back in the game and figure out what it is you actually want to do. Because I mean, look, I mean, you know, I'm not the biggest Kenny Omega fan or Young Bucks fan, but you know, they're putting 100% into AEW. Cody isn't. Like, it's hard to even say he's putting 50% into it. So you can understand why the fan... It's not necessarily like the fans not, you know, being arseholes like, oh, you know, how dare you go off and try to do something and better yourself. It's kind of like, well, look, if you're going to be here, be here. Everyone else is. That's my thought on it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty insightful thought. I mean, I hadn't really put too much thought into it. I just sort of think, they're sick of Cody. But
yeah, there is that overriding, like, I think there probably has been that you know, emphasis, like they're really trying to put him over as a mega face. So there's also that as well. And I think Cody's good, but I don't think he's great. And especially with the guys they brought in now, it's kind of like people are kind of jumping on that and thinking, well, what's so special about Cody now? You know, that's just, I don't know. I don't know if that's just me, but I think the company that's there in the locker room now, it's going to make it harder for Cody to overcome this.
yeah, I personally view it as he's got more dance partners now, but I suppose you need to turn up to the dance before you get a partner.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I think we've talked about it before, like when Cody was in New Japan. Like, I don't know that he really had any standout matches there, but I mean, he was still booked as a top guy, but he you know, because he got mixed in with the Bullet Club stuff, but I mean, yeah.
He had one really good match with Juice Robinson, which may have been where he dropped the belt on the way out.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But yeah, Cody in New Japan I found quite annoying.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, so I didn't mind this match. I think it's probably no, I wouldn't quite go as far as hit, but one of the sleepers of the show. Just having a look at the cage match rating, and it's at a 5.6, which I think's pretty low for what it was.
Yeah, that's quite low. Yeah, I didn't quite get this match. Like when I saw it was being added to the card, I was like, oh, okay, this will go, you know, maximum 10 minutes, and there's going to be a big angle attached. And no, it went almost 17 minutes, which is like way too long for a match like this. And there wasn't. It kind of just happened and went. And I didn't get it. It really felt like something that would just be on Dynamite. And like if they ran a Fatal 4-Way, I think the match would have been better. And yeah, they could have like run this on the Dynamite previously. But I don't know. It's the fact that it kind of came and went. I don't really understand what its purpose was, apart from getting these like four big stars onto the show.
Well, Black and Andrade weren't on the last pay-per-view either.
No, they weren't. That wasn't Andrade's fault though. For that one, that was because Puck couldn't make it. But yeah, Black
That's
was
right.
he was recently in the company, but yeah, he only had a pre-recorded promo.
He got that around pay-per-view main event where they'll give the guys the big matches on the Dynamites and now the Rampages beforehand.
Yeah, I really like that style. I think that's really smart because it gets to highlight some of the undercard guys and yeah, really give them the spotlight.
Even if it doesn't always pay off and you end up with Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy, but
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
but yeah, given the flow and the pattern, we'd be due another Dustin Singles match because he normally gets them the week or two after a pay-per-view.
Yeah, it seems that way. No complaints on my end though.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as Shane. I think it was a match.
Yep.
And it happened. And okay, there was a bit of an afterbirth where Cash Wheeler and Tully come down, and Cash attacks Pac and Cody before running off. Which I don't really watch the TV, so I don't know what the deal was with that.
No, Andrade's paying for FTR services,
Okay.
which sort of tied into why they were working Lucha Brothers.
Okay.
Because that
Yeah.
goes back to Andrade and the Lucha Brothers having a bit of a scuffle.
Yeah, but yeah, even that seemed a bit odd, like because FTR came out right, and I was like, oh, here we go, something's about to happen. But it was so inconsequential. They were out for, I'd say, all of 30 seconds, and then we were cutting to the next segment. So yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a miss of a segment on my end.
Yeah, maybe they'll explain it on Dynamite.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think it's something I've noticed, like with AEW pay-per-views, where they'll do something and then it's like, okay, now it's on to the next match. Like, there's not a lot of great discussion about, okay, why did that happen? It's just, okay, well, now we've got to roll out the next thing. So yeah,
A few months ago, the TV was really bad for it. It's gotten a little better now, but it used to just be, guys, slow down. Let me digest what happened.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a lot. I think that adding another hour of TV with Rampage, they could let things breathe a little bit more. But even still, sometimes they'll jump around a little faster than they need to. I brought that up with a few other AEW fans, but they always say that they really like the fast pace of the show. So I don't know.
I think that's just a lot of the matches are generally that way. Like a lot of the segments, like it's a lot of whiz bang, like corner to corner, out of the ring, in the ring, and so that it does make sense for AEW fans to be like, yeah, okay, well, we've done that, now on to the next car crash.
I suppose we are different breeds. I mean, one of my favorite episodes of Nitro is when something happened 2 segments in, and then they just replayed that for the next 2 hours.
Well, they wanted to emphasize.
Yeah. So yeah, different strokes, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But, moving on, we have the AEW Women's World Title on the line. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, against Ty Conti.
I quite like this match.
Yeah, I think it overachieved a little bit, and Conti's gotten quite good. She's improved quite a lot in AEW.
Yeah.
I think this is, it's definitely the biggest match she's had in her life, but I think it's the best so far too.
Oh, I'd say it's fairly easily the best match that she's had. I find Ty Conti so likable. There's just such a warmth for something about her. You just want to root for her. You really want her to just go out there and give it her best. But I think that she did really well in this match. And yeah, it was the best that she's looked the entire time.
Yeah, no, she looks pretty good a lot of the time.
Yeah, that she does.
But Britt Baker really just nailing this title run.
Britt Baker's gone to a whole nother level right now. I think that she's absolutely found her flow and just found her thing now. And yeah, as I kept saying when you and I were watching the match together, I think Britt Baker has quietly become quite a good technical wrestler with a lot of her title defenses incorporating quite a lot of chain wrestling and a lot of it looking like quite decent.
Yeah, definitely one of the AEW success stories, and honestly, one of the biggest stars in the company.
Oh, I'd say so. What do you think of it, Greg?
I thought it was okay. It was the first time I'd ever seen Ty Conti. I liked her entrance. It kind of
you haven't seen Conti like in WWE or anything?
No, I don't really watch a lot of current wrestling. But yeah, I didn't even know she came from WWE. So yeah, I liked her entrance. It kind of reminded me of like an MMA walk-in. For some reason, I don't know. I guess because apart from that, she does the MMA stuff, but it kind of made it seem like it was a big match. I don't get, like, with Britt Baker being the heel, like, why she had the guy from Fozzy, like, playing her entrance theme, and why when they introduce her, Justin Roberts does the whole DMD and the crowd chant. And I think, she's meant to be the heel. I don't understand, like, why they play to the crowd to make it seem like she's a babyface. Look, I thought it was all right. I enjoyed it better than the All Out match that Baker had with was it Chris Statlander? I think it was. So yeah, I thought it was all right.
Yeah, the build up for it was quite good. Like, I think Conti just happened to be number one contender when they started interacting, but then they had good chemistry against each other with the promos, the pull aparts, the back and forward they had in the tag matches. And I'm not sure what showed on the pay-per-view and what was in all the pre-show stuff. They're talking about Conti's different martial arts achievements and Britt Baker. I don't give a shit what belt you've got. She called out Baker called out Conti for posting a lot of pictures of her ass on social media. And Conti replies with, you have no ass, so I'll just kick your face.
Fair enough.
It's so good.
Fair enough.
I'm a big fan of Conti. When I first saw her in NXT, I was like, oh, this girl's got something. She was basically begging to get released, so that'll tell you how that run went. But yeah, she's basically just found a new life here. It's great to see.
That's cool. Yeah, I liked it. She was all right. So
music's good too.
Yeah, that's true.
I think this is a good example of NXT being a really good development territory. You develop them over there and send them over to AEW, and we'll turn them into stars.
Yeah. What's going on over there? Seriously.
In modern day, I don't think you want to look at it.
Well, I tried. I looked at NXT and it looked like someone vomited rainbows on it.
We got poker tables. We've got Italian men that are very, very Italian. We've got it all, man. We've got Scott Steiner, but he's not Scott Steiner.
I don't even want to know. I just feel bad for Triple H.
What have you done to my show?
Yeah, what have you done to my boy? I was watching that Seinfeld episode where, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Seinfeld, but like when Kramer tries to get Jerry to put the cable TV on. Have you ever seen that episode?
Nah.
But like there's like a dream sequence because Jerry's worried about getting caught, and he has this dream sequence where it turns out like they're all FBI, and he goes running for the door, and they shoot him down. And Kramer's like holding him like, what did you do to my cable boy? Poor cable boy. And that's how I feel about poor old Triple H. Like, cradling the NXT in his arms. Like, what have you done, Vince? Like,
well, he did recently have a hospital stay, and I mean, some say it was like some sort of heart issue, but we know the truth. It was a broken heart.
Yeah, it was stress. It was something stress related.
Well, it's funny you bring up WWE.
In the
The
middle of in the middle of an AEW.
the opener and the main were the only matches on this show to not have a former WWE talent on them.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Vince has definitely let them in. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you sign 1,000 people over like the last 5 years, I mean, you can't keep them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Well, that's. Oh, sorry, Shane. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's funny looking at like some of the matches. Like you've got like with that metric, you've got FTR in a match, and you've got Miro in a match, you've got Conti in a match. But I would say that all three of those talents, FTR being a collective, are probably bigger stars now than they ever were in their WWE run.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
No arguments here. But yeah, big stars. CM Punk.
Very big
Hang
star.
on.
Oh wait, we're not. Oh jeez, you're not going to let me move on again. Oh well.
I thought for sure one of you would call the Gotch pile driver being used.
Oh, I was happy about that.
Oh yes, we should mention that. No, there's a lot of good stuff in that match. Baker in the lockjaw and Conti having it scouted because she actually knows how to work on the ground. And yeah, I do appreciate the Gotch pile driver.
Yeah, no, I thought that the match was quite good, but at this point, we're match number 6 into the pay-per-view, and like
7 with pre-show.
7 with a pre-show, but like some of the kickouts that they were doing were like, granted for a women's world title match, but just because like literally everyone was doing like such ridiculous kickouts beforehand, it kind of diminished it. So yeah, this is one of the cases where I wish that people just did a little bit less, and maybe the matches don't need to go for quite as long and pack as much stuff in, just so for matches like this one, everything's a bit more meaningful.
So this at this point was the shortest match on the main show, beating the previous by about 90 seconds.
Yeah, which is crazy because like, why is Cody Rhodes and Puck versus Black and Andrade going longer than this match? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Storytelling.
I actually had in my notes as well a lot of kickouts from finishers on this show, and especially in that women's match.
Yeah, they were going hard with it in this match, and again, like if they did less earlier on, it'd make it more meaningful. But yeah, by this point, it's like, oh yeah, we're still doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I move on now? Are you going
Yeah,
to cut me off now? I'm not going to argue with talking about born women's wrestling, so we do have the option. But...
No, I was just legitimately shocked that you wanted to move on without mentioning the Gotch pile driver spot. That's all I'm saying. All right, move on.
So, Punk and Kingston. This, honestly, this match, I mean, we've got, 3 years worth of build-up for the main event, but, oh, God, this was the match I was here to see.
Oh, man, like, they didn't have a long time to build it up, but they made the most of it. Some of the promos that these guys were doing on each other were just, like, phenomenal stuff. Like, just two of the best mic workers going today, like in conversation of some of the best of all time, just making magic.
Like in 3 weeks. Like, yeah, you can build for months. No, 3 weeks, a little spark, boom, let's go. The pull aparts they had, I was getting excited. It was genuinely like exciting and fun to build up to this. It's not something that I get a huge amount of out of wrestling anymore. So it's when it comes along, I just embrace it. It's just like, nah, this is what I want.
Yeah, it's just simple but effective. Like that's the thing. Like sometimes the simplest concepts, that's what you need. That's all you need. But,
And I think that the match itself stood out as well because the build kind of like dictated that they can't really have a straight wrestling match. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fist fight. And it just felt so different to everything else that was on the show. And I thought that was quite good.
How good was the back fist at the start?
oh yeah.
Yeah, very, very hot open. Because think of it this way: like, what were they going to do? Either they're not gonna lock up. They could do the thing where they just rush in and start punching each other. But I thought that this was such a good way to have a spike, but then still build from there. Because if two guys run in and start punching at each other, where do you go from there? But if you have a big surprise hit like they did, then you've got all the reactions and all the vamping and everything. I thought that was a very, very intelligent way to kick off the match.
Yeah, basically King hit him.
He did. And just the expression on Kingston's face when he did it, it just sold the moment so well. It was just it was like an ecstasy. It was just something else for Kingston, just taking out all of these a decade plus of frustration just in that one hit.
In that moment, he got what he wanted. Everything afterwards was a bonus.
Yeah, he's I don't care if I want to lose. I just want to hurt you.
Yeah, I find with Kingston, he's one of those guys where he could have a lopsided win-loss record and it wouldn't matter because it's just more like you said. That's actually a really good point. He got that really good blow in at the start. Everything after that, it was a bonus to him. And it didn't. I mean, I'm sure he's upset about losing, but I mean, it doesn't really affect Kingston, really.
No, well, based on how the crowd was reacting, I thought that the crowd reaction was extremely surprising. It was 50-50 and maybe even lopsided towards Kingston at a few points.
I could just take this moment to point out that 2 or 3 months ago, this company did the biggest attendance in their history based on a rumor of one guy turning up, and the other guy was getting cheered to the same, if not higher level in this match.
Yeah, I think there's just something real about Eddie Kingston. You just believe everything he says, and that's not something you get a lot of in current wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. He's so authentic. It just draws you to him, and even if you don't want to root for him, you just want to watch what's going to happen. And I think that a lot of the reason why it sounds and feels so authentic is because it is authentic. I think a lot of the things he says, he legitimately feels about himself.
Yeah, and I can imagine Punk may they were trying to tell the story about back in Ring of Honor or on the Independents or whatever, and Punk would kind of look down his nose at Kingston. I can imagine that probably was the case.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And sorry, you go.
No, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna talk about the crowd reactions a bit more and how Punk realized that the crowd was still rooting for Kingston, and he really started to lean into it. He started pulling off the John Cena 5 moves of doom, and just he knew what he was doing. He held that hand up for such a long time, and the crowd was just piling on him.
That there, I think, is one of the highest marks of a truly good worker in this day and age. Being able to pivot to the crowd and to be able to do so without losing any of your own momentum. The only other guy I've seen do it this well, Cena's in the conversation, but to this level, Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Yeah, Tanahashi does do that a bit. Yeah, and same with Shawn Michaels near the end of his run. He'd put in quite a bit of spice. He'd do a lot of things where you're like, oh, this is supposed to be a good guy, but I think it's quite good for a guy like Michaels and Tanahashi because otherwise they will just straight up get booed for being too bland. So it's good to have a bit of fang to their character.
It just adds the depth that they need, and I could entertain Punk being legitimately one of the best in the world at the overall package. I mean, in ring he's not the best, but he's very good. But yeah, just everything on top of that, I think is world class.
Yeah, definitely. I was when they announced he was, coming back to wrestling and everything, I was a little bit skeptical. I wasn't sure if he could still go in the ring. And yeah, if he like still had it, but yeah, he's proven that he is just like phenomenal, just on many levels, just a lot of levels that he does a lot of things and knows a lot of things that you can only get through experience.
Your thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, yeah, from a psychology standpoint, Punk's right at the top of the equation. As far as what he does in the ring, I don't think it's that much better than other wrestlers, but it's just the thought process, and that's the difference that I've seen. Like when you watch like CM Punk wrestle in AEW, Bryan Danielson. It's a different type of match. It's a different type of thought process, as opposed to some of the other matches. So yeah, I really liked it. I thought the match length was just right, and it didn't need to go on that long because it was a brawl. It was a fight. So
yeah,
So yeah. I enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite matches of the pay-per-view.
Eddie's had 2 bangers in a row on pay-per-view. That fantastic match with Miro at the last one.
Oh, I loved that match. Yeah, Eddie Kingston, it just... Because I've been watching this guy... Man, when did I first see him? Like 15 years ago in Shikara. And it just baffles my mind that he's still going the level that he is. Like, he's doing the best he's ever done. Like, with that match against Miro, the match against Bryan Danielson on Rampage. And, like, this was a different flavor again. Like, he's just doing things I didn't think he was capable of doing at this point in his career. So I'm just loving it. Loving his resurgence.
Even the tag match with Mox against the Bucks.
The Bucks, that was really good. Yeah, he's having a hell of a run at the moment.
And I think this had the right result with Punk going over. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, Kingston doesn't really need wins and losses. Kingston didn't lose anything here aside from the match. I think it was the right way to do it.
Yeah,
long-term booking as well, very long-term booking. Because 16 years ago, Tony knew about that. He knew about their issues on the independent scene, and he knew that he was going to have a wrestling company, and he's worked his way to Booker of the Year. Booker of the Year.
He knew when Punk walked out of WWE, he's like, I'm going to get that guy.
Yeah. He instigated it, right?
But I think AEW has improved significantly since Punk got here.
Yeah, I agree.
The booking just seems to have settled down and be more direct, and I think Punk's just been an overall boost for the product, even indirectly.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that AEW's on quite a hot streak of consistency at the moment because, there was definitely a few times, whether it be, I don't know, COVIDs or injuries or whatever it is. But, there was some kind of shaky decisions there. But, things have been quite good these last 3 or so months.
And speaking of things that are quite good, if I can move on...
Yeah, there was no Gotch pile drivers in this.
No.
No.
Although I'll just take a moment to mention Punk rocking the rugby shorts instead of the long boys or the trunks that he's normally had. But
mixing it up.
Yeah. But, yeah. Speaking of things that are like, wow, that was good. The build up to this next match was far better than it had any right to be. This next match, of course, being the Inner Circle team of the whole Inner Circle: Jericho, Hager, Sammy, Ortiz, and Santana against the, if you haven't really been watching the TV, the what the hell is this team? team of Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, Junior Dos Santos, Andre Arlovsky, and Dan Lambert. Jericho's just come off of a 10-year feud with MJF, or at least that's what it felt like after his 5-year feud with Orange Cassidy.
That's that long-term booking that started a decade ago.
Yeah. I don't know. Jericho had just come off a long period of just being complete waste of airtime. And then you've had Dan Lambert basically playing the role of Jim Cornette with some of the promos he's been doing. One of my favorite lines that he said early on in the piece, it might have even been at the last pay-per-view. It's like, you guys aren't hardcore, you're hard up. They've just been shitting on the fans with a very traditional wrestling approach. Dan Lambert is, I guess, a UFC manager, trainer.
He's very well suited for wrestling. This is the first time I'd ever seen him. And I thought, wow, this guy, yeah, he gets it.
He does. He really does.
So he is actually a massive wrestling fan.
Okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah, he on the Dynamite before this, he put Jericho in the walls of Jericho, and it was one of the rare segments where he hadn't said anything yet. They hold a mic in front of him, he just yells out, "It's a Boston Crab, 1978 Championship Wrestling from Florida." But yeah, so you've got this guy coming in shitting on the promotion, bringing in outside guys, associating with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, two guys that have just been there, and that's the highest compliment you could give their last 12 months each. And it just worked so freaking well.
Definitely. On paper, this should have been just such a tragic, sludgy build, but it was just so damn funny. I was looking forward to every interaction they had on Dynamite and Rampage. Man, Dan is just so funny. He gets it. He gets the timing with wrestling. He knows how to talk down something but still subtly put it over at the same time. This whole program has overachieved like crazy. And then the match happened, and yeah.
So, a little bit of background on some of the unfamiliar guys here, the UFC guys. Junior Dos Santos from Brazil. He's a former UFC heavyweight champ. Has the longest winning streak in UFC history at 10. Some of those wins include Frank Mir, Cain Velasquez, and Mirko Krokop. He's tied with Velasquez for the second most knockouts in UFC history. So he's a pretty big deal. Then you've got Andre Arlovsky from the Soviet Union, the part that is now Belarus. He's a UFC heavyweight champ as well. He has the most wins in the UFC heavyweight division. First Belarusian UFC champ. He's got wins over Fedor Emelianenko, Travis Brown, Frank Mir. A loss to Josh Barnett, to name familiar to some wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And Dan Lambert managed Bobby Lashley for a bit in TNA. So these aren't just some guys. These are big deal guys that have been brought in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, American Top Team. I mean, that's one of the biggest groups in MMA. Like as far as training guys. So yeah, they're not just some dicky little MMA guys. For sure.
And so I think one of the big success stories, I guess, of this has been the fact that they've made Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky interesting. They've benefited a lot from the transfer heat that Lambert's been getting, which is something that's very rarely pulled off properly with celebrity appearances.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I haven't been following it as much as what you guys have, but yeah, I think when you can really integrate a outside personality and not just, hey, let's just use this guy's name to sell a pay-per-view or whatever, but when they can really get involved with the product and enhance it, then I think that's a real bonus.
So yeah, we've talked a lot about the build-up. What do you guys think of the match?
I didn't care for it. Like, it would be if we didn't have that trios match before.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, this one was definitely a bit more cartoonish and a bit more sports entertainment-y. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because
Yeah, you do.
you know,
I thought it was pretty sports, given some of the plunder they pulled.
very very sports with the hockey sticks and such. But yeah, no, this would have benefited by being like half the length, and not being on this show where so much has already happened. And oh man, I got a highlight. So they started the match. This is a street fight, right? They started the match in a 5 versus 5 tag, and they were tagging in and out and they did this for like 5+ minutes, and then it broke down into everyone fighting everyone. Like, what happened at the start? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, why was everyone just chill to be like, let's play this out like a normal tag match, even though these aren't the rules? I don't know what happened there. So odd.
I did have a theory on why they did that. I don't remember it, but I had a theory at the time.
I was trying really hard to justify it, but no, I couldn't wrap my head around it.
But I mean, as far as like ranking the matches on this show, I mean, Darby and MJF was good. I mean, the other trios match had some big spots, but this match had a football in the groin, so
it's hard to beat.
That's
it's a nice
match of the night.
joke there. Yes, Sammy going up that big 48-foot ladder, I thought could have been disastrous, but just a classic swanton, not a 630, which would have been interesting. For viewers of Botchamania, you might pick this match up from Jericho screaming "Junior, Junior, Junior" when he's going for the lion's soul.
And he's just chilling out on that second rope.
He's just happy to be here. But I mean, Inner Circle won. That was probably the right thing. I hope Lambert sticks around, and I hope Paige and Sky get a payoff out of this and something moving forward. But it was what it was, and the build-up was great.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the build-up made it really fun, and the match was like, it was probably the weakest on the show, but yeah, it's fine. It's inoffensive enough.
But that's enough talk.
Yeah.
It's time for the main event.
Hey, hang on.
No, not yet. Jesus Christ, I'll never get one of these in.
No, I was just
Get on
gonna
my
say-
segues.
I was just going to say, I thought this was the drizzling shits. It was easily for me the worst of the night. I got a kick out of seeing Baron Von Raschke
Yes.
doing the claw. I thought that was
so
really cool.
random, but I
it
was
was
there
random,
for
but it was cool.
Minnesota, AWA territory.
Exactly, and it was a very sports entertainment match. Like when they pulled out all the weapons and they're trying to say, well, what's relevant to this is that Minnesota Street Fight is that all of these things are invented in Minnesota. There's like a toaster and a hockey stick, and it's like, and they're trying to explain. You can tell they've got notes, and they're like, oh yes, this particular cake that was. There was some cake pan or something.
The bunt cake.
The bunt cake, that's right.
right.
And Tony's acting like, he knew this the whole time. He's not reading off notes or anything. I hated this match. Okay, I'm right.
Actually, before we do get to the main event, they announced a new signing to the company.
Oh,
Yeah, we should probably bring this up, yeah.
right. Yes.
And that new signing was...
It was
What you gonna do, brother?
It was Mr. Ring of Honor himself, Jay Lethal.
Gary Silken. Oh, wait, the other Ring of Honor.
Sorry. Yeah, out of everything that happened on this show, this was the most surprising to me. I never, ever thought Jay Lethal would leave Ring of Honor. And I know Ring of Honor is literally on life support right now, but yeah, this was surreal to me.
Jay Lethal didn't leave Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor left Jay Lethal.
Essentially. But yeah, like Ring of Honor are running a show, like they're still running Final Battle before they do the big restructure. But yeah, Jay Lethal saying that he's with AEW now. This is his home, and he's not going to be working Final Battle. Like, this This is like hell freezing over sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be it for Ring of Honor. They're talking about restructuring and all that kind of thing, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Ring of Honor, but yeah, especially with Jay Lethal coming over, I know he's a big name from there, and it's kind of I think it's going to be similar to what happened to the NWA when they had one talent leave, and then all of a sudden a bunch of talent left, and some of them like Eddie Kingston turned up in AEW, and
Ricky Starks.
Yeah, I think this is probably it for Ring of Honor as far as being an influential promotion. Yeah, I don't think there's much room for him anymore.
Yeah, and with the actually thinking what Jay Lethal is going to be like in AEW moving forward, I don't know. I feel like that the men's roster is pretty darn bloated, and they keep adding guys like the Bobby Fishers of the world, which he's like decent, and I don't know, I don't know where Jay Lethal's going to fit.
I can see Lethal being in a similar role to Christian Cage or Frankie Kazarian.
Yeah,
where it's just sort of that B tier guy who can work up the card, but will spend a lot more time with the younger dudes.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm picturing. I haven't seen Lethal work in maybe like 2 years, so I don't know what he looks like in ring style.
He's still the goods. His our draw with Matt Taven was the absolute drizzling shits, but no, he can still go.
I wonder why. But yeah, no, I'm keen to see how he goes. But he's like many of the signings thus far, I'm a bit skeptical and a bit hesitant to see how it goes. But yeah, as I said before, I felt that way about CM Punk, and I was gladly proven very wrong there. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
A nice bit of change of pace. This was the only surprise on this show.
Yeah, after the last show.
Yeah, All Out was a bit much, I thought.
Well, it was All Out.
Yeah, well, this is true. But yeah, no, I thought it was a nice. It was nice they made the announcement on the pay per view, and sets up a good match for Dynamite. So. But two baby faces, I guess. They kind of presented like Jay Lethal like he was going to be a baby face, and then he challenged Sammy Guevara. So, will Lethal be a heel? I don't know. They don't tend to care as much about that, do they? In AEW, they just kind of like throw matches together.
Yeah, they don't worry quite as much about the face heel dynamic.
The TNT title is generally a lot looser in terms of the constructs of things, but for the most part, I don't think it's so much we don't care. It's just this is sports, so sometimes this happens.
Mm. And yeah,
lazy booking. No.
Easy booking. Yeah, and the TNT title exists in a weird space where, you can use the rankings to get a shot, but also it's a fairly open title challenge. So yeah, you get all sorts of strange fellas coming in and giving it a shot.
But yeah, no, it should be a good match. And I did say the only surprise, we did get a nice announcement of Tomohiro Ishii turning up on Dynamite as well. So I guess that also counts.
Teaming with Orange Cassidy.
With Orange Cassidy, yeah.
Of course. What a world.
What a waste.
Oh.
Yeah, it should have been Yano.
Yoshihashi.
No.
Captain New Japan, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's more like it.
Anyway. You can talk about the main event now.
Yeah, we can do that.
So yeah, main event. Let's get some backstory.
There we go.
Shane?
Oh, okay, for me.
Given your feelings on this and your involvement, I think it's probably better to give you the details of this.
Okay, well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version because this is a story that has legitimately panned out over the 3 years that AEW has run. Context, I love this story. I've been so invested with this story of Hangman Adam Page, and his highs and his lows. But yeah, it started with AEW being announced. He came out and said, "Hey, I've been known as a kind of a friend of Bullet Club and one of the lower card guys, but I want to be my own man. I want to be a main event player. I want to be the world champion." And he was in the first ever world title match, him versus Chris Jericho. The winner gets the honor of being the first ever AEW champion. He fell short, and from that he went on a bit of a spiral. He started losing some other matches and feeling like he was the weak link in the elite, and started to ostracize himself from them. And at the same time, very coincidentally, he made a successful tag team with Kenny Omega. They won the tag titles, had a hell of a run. FTR came on the scene. They got into Hangman's head, really tapped into his lack of self-confidence and all of the self-doubt. Cost Hangman and Omega the tag titles, and Omega just... Hangman, he just spiraled into a depression, like lots of drinking, pushing everyone away. Dark Order were trying to recruit him, but he's pushing them away, and it's just been a very, very up and down journey. But this has been the culmination of him finally building up the confidence, finding himself again, and saying, "I'm going to take on Kenny for the title. No more fears, no more self-doubts. I'm going to get in there and kick his ass." And it's been like, that's very much the Cliff Notes version, but watching this play out over 3 years of all the twists and turns, it has been a joy, absolute joy.
Yeah, I think it was interesting with the team how initially Kenny was pretty keen, Hangman was reluctant, and then it switched about halfway. Then Hangman was finally getting in there, and Kenny was starting to have one foot out the door. Then they had their match in the finals of the Eliminator tournament, which, correct me if I'm wrong, was Full Gear the year before.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a fun trivia fact. They actually opened last year's Full Gear. They had the first match against each other, which Kenny won the tournament, went on to win the title, and has held the title for almost a full year, Full Gear to Full Gear, essentially.
Yeah, and then they had Hangman was a number one contender through wins and losses. Then got sort of goaded into having that. Was it trios or more?
The 5-on-5.
Yeah, so Hangman, Dark Order. And if Hangman and the Dark Order won, they would have got title shots. I think was Uno and Grayson from the Dark Order team.
Yeah, Uno and Grayson going after Young Bucks for their tag titles. So they were kind of going for like an all or nothing type of thing. And then quite shockingly, the Elite won that match, which meant that Hangman and the Dark Order lost all of their title shots, and they kind of had to start again.
Yeah, so Hangman rode off into the sunset, had was baby boy?
Yeah. Just recently had his baby son, yeah.
Yeah, and then come back as a surprise entrant in the casino-themed Rumble entrance-style ladder match to a ridiculously huge pop.
Yes.
And, hadn't actually wrestled between that and this, which I thought was... I think it was a good decision because you're sort of anticipating him coming back and not quite getting that taste of it. They had the contract signing segment, which you raved about.
Yeah, I loved that one. I love that. I thought it was such a good way to cap off such a long program and still get a little bit more juice out of it.
I did enjoy the little Ibushi jab that Paige had, which essentially the Kenny projecting his insecurities from his previous tag partner onto Paige. Then there was that lovely moment on Rampage where Hangman apologized to the Young Bucks for cost. Is it when he cost them the tag titles or?
Cost him a tag title shot and gave it to FTR instead.
Yeah, so apologized and then pretty much said, "Yeah, no, we're even. You get involved. I'm going to make it my life's mission to end you." Which didn't even really get brought up here, but I thought it was such a great little touch. and just that final step on the road to this match. Yeah, Greg, what do you think about the build up and your impression of it from what was explained and shown on this show?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. And I wasn't sure whether it was really long-term booking or whether he kind of went off the rails with him and then they revisited it. I don't know, because I haven't really watched the TVs and stuff. But I'll take your guys' word for it that this was all meant to be and this was the plan. I did like the little video that they did of him where they they show the arena, and it was almost like a computer generated type deal, and they have him riding in on the horse.
Yeah, that was good.
That was kind of interesting. That was kind of cool.
And just some of the story beats flashing on the advertising signs as he's walking in.
Yeah. So it got me primed for this.
Excellent. We do love a good priming here on the Roadshow.
I love to be primed.
Some good old fashioned cowboy shit here. Yeah, the entrances, they were hot, and I think they had a pretty good match. But as I mentioned earlier, I unfortunately had that spoiler, so it was hard for me to get into it with the same enthusiasm that I would have had otherwise. Yeah. A little bit disappointing. Not real impressed with YouTube's algorithm, but it is what it is.
First you're going off at Google, now it's YouTube. Jeez. Next.
You know who's next. But your thoughts on the match, guys?
You can go first, Shane.
For the match itself, I don't have too many thoughts. We were a good 3.5 hours into a show. Everything's been kicked out of by this point, and it's just hard. It's just hard for a show to go so long, have so much before it, and still make the final match meaningful. And this isn't just a one-off thing. This is an issue that AEW pay-per-view main events have had for a while. Quite often the main event is just one of the least memorable ones for me, just because so much has happened before it. I wasn't here for the match. I was here for the moment of Hangman finally overcoming Kenny at the end, and I got what I wanted. So if I watch the match again, without the context and just watching it, just that look at the match, I'd have some stronger opinions. But it was I was a bit fried by this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat again. And you thought we were going to argue?
Yeah, no.
Nah,
you're reasonable. I knew that would get along.
Reasonable.
Nice bit of harmony here on the Roadshow.
Yeah, well, you got to have it. We're stuck in a car, doing this review. I pretty much word for word what you just said, man. I think if you'd to watch it as a standalone thing, maybe a year from now or whatever, then you might be able to appreciate the match a little more. But I watched it through 2 sessions, but even I was burnt out, and all through my notes here, I've got the same, things, kicking out of finishes. There were so many spots on the apron.
It is the hardest part of the planet.
Yeah. And and so many kicks and strikes and and all, and that's why I really like the Bryan Danielson Miro match, because they were really laying in the strikes, whereas everyone else, they're kicking the thigh, they're doing all that kind of stuff. And look, I don't hate Kenny Omega, but it was the same thing I struggled with All Out as well. By the time you get to that final match, it's like you've seen everything, and it's not for me. To have that, so much, to at least just to say, look, this is the kind of shit we're going to do. I'm going to do a move on the apron. Okay, well, we'll stay away from that. Or, some other kind of spot like that, but it's pretty much just a big free for all. And I don't know whether I think AEW would benefit if they had agents. I don't know how they do it at the moment, but if they had agents to look over the match and say, okay, well, so-and-so is going to be doing this, so let's stay away from that because we don't want to do the same shit as what they're doing. That's the biggest issue I have with AEW pay-per-views from what I've seen.
They do actually have agents, which makes it even more confusing. And experienced agents too, like Dan Malenko, who's been an agent for most of the last 20 years.
Well, is it just a case where it's like the guy's just going out and doing whatever? It's kind of a typical indie wrestling trope, where they don't really pay attention to what the previous match had. It's like, we all want to steal the show. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. For everyone to feel like, hey, we've got to go out there and do everything, and every match has got to be 20 or so minutes.
Well, it's probably telling that the biggest star on the card had the shortest match.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's why I have found myself enjoying Punk matches, the stuff that I've seen from Danielson, just from some of the guys that maybe have a much better thought process than the guys that kind of came up through the indies and kind of brought that mentality to AEW. It's not my cup of tea, because some of these matches, like the Jericho car wreck and stuff like that, it might have been okay, but you had that previous match we talked about, so yeah, by the time you get to that last match, it's like, man, what else can they do?
I think one of the issues is the fact that a lot of guys have the thinking of, I'm getting a chance to shine on this big stage, I'm going to give it everything I've got. Whereas you do have the more experienced guys like a Punk or a Bryan or what should be a Jericho. They realize that they don't have to play all the cards in this hand.
Yeah.
And if you don't do everything, when you do things, they mean more.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm such a big fan of teams like guys like FTR, because they don't throw everything at once either, as opposed to revisit the previous, and I guess by this point a classic argument, like the Young Bucks, who will throw everything into each match and try to build, try to make each match stand alone as their entire body of work condensed into 20 to 30 minutes. There's not, we'll do this a little bit later. We'll tell this story over a period of a few months in terms of the in-ring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there comes a point where you kind of just have to say, look, can we just have a match? And I guess in their mindset, it's kind of like, maybe we're going to shortchange the fans, or, people are paid for this, we really want to go for broke. But I think it would actually benefit more to say, okay, we've had an opening match that was killer, did a lot of stuff in that. Maybe kind of ease it down a little bit, and then we'll come up again. Then we maybe slow down again, and then the main event. And in the main event is where you get to see some stuff that you haven't seen previously, because there's been that attention that's been given it, to say, okay, well, they're gonna do that in the main event, so let's stay away from that. Whereas everyone's just decided that, we've got to have the best match on the card. And yeah, I don't. It's not anything that works for me, really.
Yeah, the shows lack a bit of balance.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Shane? Similar sort of thought, or are we completely on other planets at this point?
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, I think that it's just I'm looking at the card now. Straight up, you could have taken off the Cody Rhodes tag match. You could have halved the time of Inner Circle and Top Team, and there you go. That would take off a good half hour plus right there. and that would give you a bit more juice come the main event. Yeah, the shows are just long. There's a lot that happens, and yeah, just ways that there's a lot of ways that could be a lot more balanced.
But yeah, so main event. We sort of deviated a little bit. I guess not so much, but this match actually towards the end was very reminiscent of a 2018, 19, not so much 19, but 18 Gaijin in New Japan main event match, which I guess by proxy is a Kenny Omega match, in that they had the dramatic style storytelling.
Yeah.
The bit with the Bucks coming out with that little bit on Rampage I mentioned, that explained them coming out. Then Matt giving the nod to Hangman rather than actually doing anything. It was sort of in a similar vein to the AJ Styles Kota Ibushi match from 2000 and I'm going to say 16, 17, when Kenny Omega jumped up and I am not quite going to interfere. I'm just going to let this happen. That sort of planted a seed.
Yeah.
So I guess for fans of that style of storytelling, this would have been great. I appreciated it. I don't hate it. At that point, it wasn't what I wanted from New Japan. It was cool little bits of color. That type of storytelling probably worked here in this very story-built match. And yeah, we get the old 1, 2, 3, and AEW's first time world champion in the men's division.
Yeah, champion number 4 on that title belt. And I'm like, there's always that little bit of fear in the back of my mind that they wouldn't strike when the iron's hot, and they would give Kenny another win to build heat or something silly like that. But no, they made the right call. The fan wanted Hangman. Kenny, his reign, it had run its course. Like, all the stars aligned. It was the right call.
As much as I've wanted Kenny to lose that belt since about 10 seconds before he won it, I wouldn't have been that bad with Kenny winning here. And Hangman getting it the next time around. But I guess that comes to my tendency to be on the side of the Japanese style storytelling. The Naito Okada feud comes to mind here, where every man and his dog had Naito going over in that second Wrestle Kingdom match they had. It didn't happen. A lot of people were blowing up about it. Why? I don't understand. But then when it did happen, it's probably the best moment I've seen in sports. So I was sort of thinking, yeah, maybe we get that bigger payoff down the road. But I'm happy this turned out the way it did.
Yeah. I was just going to say, sorry. I'm curious to know how much of Omega's injury came into it. Because I have read, I think we mentioned this earlier about he's had this injury for a little while. So I am curious to know whether, if Omega was 100%, whether he would have gone over in this match as well, or whether they just decided now's the time you need to take time off.
So regarding Kenny's injury, I'm not doubting the legitimacy of it at all with what I'm about to say. But this is not a new thing for Kenny Omega in a big match. Quite often when he was in New Japan, especially with G1s, which I guess makes sense with the schedule, but even his big Wrestle Kingdom matches, afterwards it would always come out that he was working hurt, which to me comes down to, I think he actually has flaws in his fundamental training. It's the same as someone like Phoenix, who's seemingly almost always injured. It's like, well, if you keep getting injured, maybe you do need to go back and reevaluate your fundamentals. But for Kenny, it's been pointed out, I think by himself somewhere in interviews and in the Bucks book, he does struggle with pressure and expectation. So this publicizing of injuries around his big matches may, and again, I'm not doubting the legitimacy of them, but this may be something of a defensive mechanism. It's like, oh, that wasn't the greatest match in the history of the world. Oh, well, I was working hurt, so I did the best that I could. Might be controversial opinion there, but I've seen Kenny Omega's journey from junior heavyweight champ to where he is now, and this happens too often.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but I mean, like, with the style that he wrestles, like, it's not hard to imagine that he would have these niggling injuries, like the way a lot of the guys work in AEW.
Yeah, especially with like Kenny working that big New Japan style. Like I can't even imagine how beat up Okada is right now. Like he would just be aching. So yeah, like whether it is, fully legitimate or elsewhere, I still think that Kenny would definitely benefit from just going away for a little while.
And I agree with that. Not even in his wrestling, but just in his
character and
the fans' mind.
Yeah. When you've had a run at the top, it's always hard to figure out what's next. So yeah, if Kenny would like disappear for like 3-6 months, I think it would do him a lot of good, both physically and just to increase his star power and make people actually want to see him and want him to come back.
He's gone from being number one in the company, arguably, to probably being about 5 or 6 during this title reign, just for the guys they've brought in.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. I was going to say, like, with Young Bucks losing at the last pay-per-view and now Kenny losing the belt here. I don't want to say changing of the guard because they're still obviously very involved behind the scenes, at the top of the the management there, but. I think it is best to say, okay, now we've got some real big heavy hitter talent in. We kind of have to make room for them now. So, could you kindly drop the belts?
Yeah.
And maybe take a bit of time off. Whether they do or not, I don't know. But,
yeah, it'd be good to not see them for a while. And I mean, I hate the Elite. As it is now anyway, so of course I want him gone for a bit. Come back and maybe you'll be fresh and I'll like it again, but at the moment, just go away.
As long as they get permission from you to return. Yes.
But yeah, I think we're burying the lead here.
Yeah.
New champ, Adam Page.
Yeah. Cowboy shit.
Of course, the Dark Order come out at the end. Stu Grayson offers him one of those beers that he loves so much. Hangman doesn't want it. He doesn't need it.
Yeah.
He's finally overcome whatever problems he's had.
I don't know if it's because of the Moxley thing or whatever, but that's the best move for him. Like that to me is that's an act of a real babyface world champion to say that, yeah, I don't need these vices. I've got a clear head. I've got the belt. I'm ready to take on anybody. No, that was good.
I didn't actually think of the Moxley comparison there. I think it's probably more coincidental than intentional. But when Hangman started his drinking on the shows, I thought this can be a very touchy issue. I hope they handle it with care, and I think they have for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a good alcoholism angle in wrestling.
Not a fan of Scott Halls?
No, or like when they did it with Hawk in the WWF. But I think there's a good message there too, So yeah, I'm happy with it.
And nice little parallel. When he was defeated in the first AEW title match, a little bit of the bubbly was had by the winner, but not here when he did win.
Excellent.
So yeah, anything else from you guys on this?
No, like looking at the show as a whole, it was good. Like all the pay-per-views are good. It was good, but it wasn't like as wild as the last one or like top to bottom. like fantastic, like the first Double or Nothing or anything like that. But yeah, having the Hangman story cap off, finally overcoming the demons and the self-confidence issues, and being christened as the world champ, it was very, very satisfying for me, who's someone who's followed this story very closely. So yeah, it was. I had a very good time.
Yeah, I thought it was a good pay-per-view. Just some issues, like we've already talked about, so there's no need to, bang it over the head again. Yeah, I think with a little more care, like these pay-per-views could be even better. But, I'm intrigued to watch more, so...
Yeah, and that's the thing, they set up, like, although this caps off a story with Hangman, Adam Page getting the title, he's got his next match lined up already with Bryan Danielson, and yeah, there's just like here and there's lots of little stories that have already begun with, like, Lethal coming in, going after Guevara, and yeah, some of those ones. So yeah, even though like this is the end of a pay-per-view, you still are excited for what the next season can bring.
Yeah, and they'll have the Christmas period, then we'll move on eventually to the Revolution pay-per-view. So yeah, I think they're doing well to tick it over into the future. But yeah, so AEW Full Gear episode complete. Let us know what you thought of the pay-per-view, of the 3-man experiment. And if you've got any suggestions, comments, feedback, anything like that, shoot them over to the email address. That is podcast@thewrestlingroadshow.com. And of course, at thewrestlingroadshow.com, which statistics say you'll be listening to this on anyway, you can check out all our articles, our weekly music series, the profiles, the history. It's developing quite a little back catalogue of content there on the website. And we've got the social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook as well as on Twitter. Just have a search for the Wrestling Roadshow, and you'll find us on there as well. And apparently we also have a YouTube channel.
We do. We have the YouTube channel that, I've started uploading the back catalogue of shows onto. There might be a little bit of other extra content on there. Check it out. Give us the like, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Despite what the comments I've made about YouTube and their algorithm, head on over and check out our channel. It's one of the good parts.
That's the only part you need to look at.
And of course, if you are feeling a little bit generous and you do feel like you've got too much money, head on over to the website. We've got that little donate button there. Kick a little bit over, help the show out, show your appreciation and value. Or don't, it's completely up to you. We're doing this for free. So yeah, that's AEW All Out. We've just plugged everything. Full gear, there we go.
Got him, yes.
Well, we couldn't quite finish without stuffing the landing. Nice little point of consistency here. We haven't had a proper outro yet.
You're making Jim Ross proud. You're giving the authentic experience.
There we go.
This is one of the pillows of Daniel Bryan.
So yes, that was AEW Full Gear. We'll be back again with more of that scintillating content, and a very big thank you to our special guest Shane from the upcoming Game Surgeons podcast, which we'll give links and shout out to once all that's online. So Shane, thanks for joining us. Greg, as always, thanks for being here. And as usual, we will catch you down the road.